At the beginning of every year, a lot of us actually do set our goals that we want to achieve within the year. And some of us call it New Year's resolution. And a lot of the times, there's so many good intentions behind those goals, and we actually really hope that we're going to achieve them. But sometimes, if I think about it, some of the reasons why a lot of us don't end up even achieving some of those goals is because we are waiting to start at the beginning of the year. First off, we feel like 1st of January is like a magical day where suddenly, your life is going to change. You're going to suddenly become more motivated and you're going to be able to go after all of your goals. But if you still have any outstanding 2024 goals that you set for yourself at the beginning of the year, then you already understand that this isn't usually, a walk in the park or as simple as we think that it's going to be, that once we hit January 1st, then everything is just going to fall into place. Now, if this is you, this video is going to help you to start even before you're ready. Now think about it, we have less than 60 days left before the end of the year, and some of us might be looking at it that, hey, it's not enough time for us to achieve anything. Now, that is where we're wrong. There's enough time in the year for us to still achieve some goals, but more importantly, there's enough time for us to set the stage for what we want in 2025. And this is how we're going to do it. Now, the first thing we're going to do is declutter. And the first kind of declutter that we need to do is for our minds. Now, I can't emphasize this enough because as someone that went through a rut this year where I couldn't do anything, I wasn't motivated to do anything, I just wanted to sit still, I was so depressed. I understand that when your mind is not right, it really doesn't matter how much good intentions you have behind your goals. It is almost going to be impossible for you to actually go after your goals. Like, I was the person that had my blinds down for weeks. I wouldn't even let light come into the house. That was how bad my situation was. Now, what I didn't realize, I thought that, just because I was grieving the loss of my dad, maybe that was the reason I was depressed. Yes, that contributed to it. But ultimately, I didn't realize that I also had, seasonal depression that I was battling with. And I didn't find this out until I had to go for some blood work back in April. And they realized that, I had serious vitamin D deficiency. And I was put on a very high dosage of vitamin D. And I can't tell you how much impact this had on my life. From the very first day I started to take the vitamin D prescription, it literally felt like someone had just turned on a bulb in my head. I started feeling like a totally new human being. I started feeling like I needed to go out. Like I started craving company. Someone that didn't want to even see anyone, just a few days before. And that is just to say that if you're mentally not okay, you need to fix that. Whatever that is, in my case, I had vitamin D deficiency. And as winter months are fast approaching and the sun is going out, especially if you're a Black person, you know that, this season comes with its own seasonal type of depression. So whether or not you're Black, but if you're feeling some type of way, maybe you want to check your vitamin D levels and make sure that you're covering that end. And there's nothing else that you're dealing with mentally that is going to prevent you from being able to go after your goals. Because like I said, you will not have the motivation to do things if your mind is not right. Now, the second type of declutter that I would encourage everyone to think about is, decluttering your circle. Now, I know that sometimes this can be very hard, but if you really think critically about the last 5 people you spoke with and the conversations you had with them, like how did you feel after those interactions? Did you feel energized? Did you feel inspired? Did you feel positive? Or was the conversation all around, it's not easy, this is happening? Was it all negative that you felt drained after those conversations? If the answer is true, then you probably want to rethink, how you want to set yourself up for 2025, still having these people as the most frequent people that you speak with. I understand that, it can sound a bit negative that, maybe you need to cut people out of your life. Sometimes you probably need to cut people out of your life permanently. Sometimes it's temporarily, just for the time that you need to focus on your goal. Sometimes, you want to expand your circle so that you have a bit more positive people around you as opposed to having more negative around you. Hopefully that will balance out. Because usually what happens with negative conversations, especially if you're trying to achieve a goal, is they're like seeds that maybe at the point you're having those conversations, you might not actually feel like things are being sown into your life. But in the long run, you may start to feel like maybe it's okay that you're actually not achieving some of these things because, XYZ people are not doing so as well. Or the statistics is saying that, these things are not achievable for people like you. I'll give you an example. When I first moved into the UK, actually, shortly before I moved to the UK, I was looking for accommodation online. Even though I'd come to London in the past for holidays, it wasn't like I was very familiar with London, right? So I was checking online, and to be honest, I loved the flats in Canary Wharf. Now, I didn't know Canary Wharf was supposed to be expensive, but, I liked the 2-bedroom apartments that I saw there. And I told myself that, okay, this is the kind of apartment that I want. Based off of that, I had targeted a particular salary amount that I wanted to earn in the UK. So fast forward to when I now moved to the UK and I was living somewhere in London, not in Canary Wharf, by the way, but obviously I still had a dream of living in Canary Wharf. But I was so job hunting at this time. I spoke to one of my friends here and I was saying, hey, you know what? I'm looking for a job and this is the kind of salary that I'm targeting. And he was like, do you have an idea of what the average salary in the UK is? I'm like, no, I don't know. And it's like, oh, it's 30-something thousand. I'm like, okay, so? And it was like, do you know how long it actually takes for people to earn the kind of salary that you're looking for here in the UK? I'm like, I don't know. And it was like, and you're just coming, you don't have a UK education, no master's degree, you're just coming and you actually think that you can go for this kind of salary? And I was so confused, but then, that conversation actually sowed a seed in my life that I was already confidently speaking to recruiters and telling them that, hey, you know what, this is my salary expectation. And after that conversation, when I wouldn't hear back from recruiters, I started to attribute the reason I wasn't hearing back to my salary expectation. And I started to feel like maybe I actually need to lower my expectation and aim lower. And it was not until I spoke to one of my friends who's based in the US and I asked her, I said, see, how much are you earning? And she told me, and I compared it, even though I know that salaries in the US are nothing compared to salaries in the UK, but I knew that whatever salary that I was even aiming at was extremely low for my level of experience. And, regardless of statistics, I shouldn't be aiming that low. And that was a turning point for me. So it's very important that when we're thinking about how we want to achieve our goals, we're not surrounded by people who are going to sow seeds that are going to either demotivate us or make us to aim lower. Because usually, when you aim really high at something, let's say the level is 10, and you put in a level 10 effort, even if you don't achieve a 10, right, the likelihood of you maybe achieving a 7 or an 8 is very high, as opposed to when you're actually aiming for a 2, because that's what statistics is, or that's what people around you have told you, or that's what's happening for the people around you. So you see why it's very important for you to declutter your circle. So the next thing you're going to do after you've decluttered your mind and your circle is that you need to absolutely stop consuming motivational content, motivational books, motivational videos, including this one, and start to have a bias for action. Now, what usually happens when we watch motivational videos like this and all the other ones that we watch is that we have a temporary high and we start to feel like, hey, I'm doing research, that's why I'm watching this video, or I'm looking for inspiration, that's why I'm reading this book. But in actual sense, you're not taking any actionable step towards your goal. Sometimes we watch 5-6 videos a day just to try and motivate ourselves without actually getting up to do the things that we need to do. It's a form of procrastination that, we feel like we're actually doing something when we're doing absolutely nothing. So unless when you watch a video, you're taking steps, either as you're watching the video or as soon as you're done watching the video, then it makes sense. But you can't continue to read books and to watch videos and to ask people for advice on things without taking a step. Think about, the videos you're watching and all of these things as theory, right? But nothing replaces your actual practical experience when you have to do stuff. And then again, for you to even go after your goals, you have to have some sort of, inner motivation that it's not coming from outside. And this is very important because you're the only one that knows why these goals are important to you. Nobody else understands your why. And that is the reason why it needs to come from inside of you. So when you're done watching this video, you absolutely have to start taking steps towards achieving your goal. Now, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to list out, I would say maybe not more than 5 goals. And the reason is sometimes we get overwhelmed by, a long list of the things that we need to do. So if you're fine with having a long list, that is fine. Otherwise, keep it at maybe 5. If you still have things that you want to do in 2024, you can maybe have 2 of those goals and maybe 3 of 2025 that you want to, list as, the top 5 goals that you need to achieve. So once you're done listing out these goals, you then need to prioritize the goals. Now, what I'm doing for myself, as I'm preparing for 2025 is that I'm picking my most challenging goal to achieve, and I'm also picking my lowest hanging fruit. So I'm picking 2 goals, and you may want to do that as well. Pick 2 goals depending on your situation. So for you, you might pick the goal that has the highest level of urgency to you and something else. But I'm picking the goal that is most difficult for me and most overwhelming for me to achieve as part of the 2 goals that I'm selecting, simply because a lot of the times when I see a goal as too big, I start to put it in the back burner, right? And at a point where, I have a lot of energy in the beginning where I'm meant to, put all of that energy into the most difficult thing, I leave it till the last minute. And then what happens is at the time I'm not ready to pick it up, I probably don't have as much energy to want to go after those goals. I'm already drained out from using, whatever energy I had at the beginning to try and figure out tasks that are not as difficult. And the reason I'm picking my second goal as my lowest hanging fruit is that, 1, there's a likelihood that I can achieve that much faster, probably doesn't require as much effort. Secondly is that it's some sort of motivation for me when I'm able to see that I've ticked off, one goal off of my list, while I'm still able to expend a lot of my energy on my most difficult goal. So once you're done, selecting the 2 goals that you want to go after in the remaining part of, this year, is that you want to make sure that you now break down the steps required to achieve the goals. Now, they might just be high-level steps. They don't have to be as detailed as you might like it to be, because a lot of the time, sometimes you don't even know, what something entails until you've taken the first step or while you're in it, right? So list down high-level steps that you need to take for both goals. That way it becomes very manageable and you can actually see clear things that you need to do. So a step could be that you need to call somebody. A step could be that you need to revamp your CV. A step could be that, you need to register your business. Whatever the steps are, you want to list them out so that you can know where to start. The challenge that a lot of us have in terms of trying to achieve our goal is the start. How do we start? When do we start? What do we need to start? The moment you've identified the step, even if, it's not complete, just start. Like, I can't overemphasize this enough. Like, when I'm going after my goals, I'm not really thinking about, the 10 steps down the line. I think about the first few steps that I need to take, and then I start to work towards achieving those goals. Now, the next thing you want to do after you've done this is you want to create a sense of urgency for yourself. Now, I know we have less than 60 days left in this year, but what if you set a target for yourself that you actually want to achieve this difficult goal or some of these goals before the end of the year? Now, it may look like, this is a bit ambitious and it's impossible, and maybe there are actually some that will be impossible. But there's something that comes with when you create a sense of urgency around something. Now, if you've ever been in a situation whereby you've been given a task or you have something that you need to do within a particular time frame and you end up not doing it. Now, you had, say, a month to do this thing and you absolutely didn't do it. Now, a day to when you need to submit this thing or be accountable to someone for this thing, you find out that even though you thought that this thing was going to take you like a month to do it, you're able to do it in one day. Sometimes it's 1 hour of work that this thing requires, and it doesn't require as much time that we give to it. Now, remember Parkinson's law, which says that, work actually expands into the amount of time that you give to it. So if you give a task 1 week to achieve, It may take you 1 week to achieve because that's how much time you've given to it. You're able to relax. You're able to, procrastinate because, hey, you have a week. So in 2 days, you might not touch it. But if you give the same goal 1 day to achieve, it means that you have no other choice but to make sure that you actually try and do it in that 1 day. Now, worst case scenario is spills into, let's say, 2 days or 3 days. But you're not going to have 1 week to fuff around thinking that, hey, yeah, you still have time to achieve the goal. So create a sense of urgency around your goals. Give yourself 30 days, 60 days, depending on what the goal is, to try and see how you can achieve it. And in fairness, sometimes you don't need more than this. For every goal that I've achieved in 2024, for example, I didn't need more than 60 to 90 days to achieve these goals. Some of them were just 2 weeks of, putting my head down and working, and then I was done with it. And I'm thinking to myself, why was I so overwhelmed about this goal in the first place? The moment I started and I started to put in the work, it was just so easy for me to now, build momentum and then achieve this goal. So create a sense of urgency around these goals so that you can go after them and achieve them much faster than giving them the whole of 2025, for example, to say that's when you want to achieve this goal. The next thing I want you to think about when you're thinking about your goals is the fact that you have to be able to balance, I would say, delusion with audacity and ruthlessness to go after your goal. Now, why is this important? A lot of the times, the circumstances around us, the statistics around us, they don't support us achieving this goal. It looks too big. It looks unachievable. It looks like it doesn't happen for people like us, right? But if you don't believe that it can happen for you, it's not going to happen for you. Again, is having audacity. Like the audacity to say, I want to do this and I am going to do it, right? It makes all of the difference. Where even though you're scared because there's nothing around you that supports you having this dream, but you're saying, I'm going to go after it anyways, and you're ruthless enough to take whatever step it's going to take for you to go after this goal. It really doesn't matter what's happening around us, right? That we're able to say, hey, this is what I want, and I'm going to go after it. Once you have that audacity and you're doing everything in your capacity to make sure that you're going after the goal, the rest becomes easy. So the last thing I want you to think about is you have to be able to embrace the cringe, to embrace looking stupid, to embrace disappointment. All of these things that sound like negative things, right? Like one of my friends would say, it's a feature, not a bug. It means that when you feel overwhelmed, when you feel disappointed, when you're trying to achieve something, it's the norm, right? When everything is smooth, that's the exception. And while we all pray that we have a smooth journey when we're trying to achieve our goals, not everybody is able to achieve that. So you need to be able to embrace all of these things. A lot of us sometimes, the fear of looking stupid is not making us to go after our goals. Oh, what will people say? People that are not feeding you. We actually hold ourselves back because of the fear of what people are going to say. Or what if I fail and I've already shared this with somebody? Like, so what? Or we tell ourselves things like, oh, this is not me. Like, this is not, I don't do this. But then you need to absolutely do those things in order to go after your goals. You see those things that we think are so cringe? They're usually like ingredients for us to actually really go after these goals. Even now that I'm doing YouTube and I'm putting myself out there, the number of times I've gotten comments around, oh, the way I speak and all of that, is enough to discourage me. But guess what? I don't really care because, hey, I'm doing this for me, not for anyone else. Yes, I know that my content actually helps people, which is good enough for me. But a lot of the times, the content I create is also for me. So if I'm speaking to myself, would I be feeling somewhat cringe? No, I'm not going to feel that way because I'm speaking to me. It just so happens that, I'm doing this and other people are seeing it as well. The other thing that you need to think about is, if you fail at something, think of it as a lesson. Because that's exactly what it is. It's a lesson. Don't think about what people are going to say, right? Pick the lessons that you can learn from that failure and apply it to either, improve yourself, or maybe that actually tells you something that maybe you need to actually pivot from that goal. But it tells you something. And one thing that I don't want you to do is to start to blame yourself, right? You need to be able to critically analyze, why has this thing failed? Was this something I could have done differently that could have made me to achieve a different outcome? Or is this actually it? Without blaming yourself or anybody else around you, that you're able to critically think about why something has failed. And if you get disappointed, like I said, it's a feature, not a bug. It's part of the process, right? You dust yourself up and then you move. If you're able to combine all of the things that we've talked about in this video, decluttering your mind, making sure that you have a bias towards action and not just consuming, motivational content, making sure that you have the audacity to go after your goals, listing out your goals, and creating a sense of urgency around it, I can tell you that if you start now, even if you're not able to achieve these goals before the end of the year, you would have set yourself up for a fantastic 2025. I've come to the end of this video and I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please make sure you like, subscribe, and share, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.